Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics podcast. I'm your host, Simple Electronics, and with me today I have a very special guest. So a nice turnaround from last week where nobody special at all was on. I have another maker with me. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well.
Good. I'm doing well too. What's the weather like in Florida today?
It is hot as heck. I mean, it's what is that, like 93, which is like 33-ish Celsius. It's hot, it's humid, it's sunny, not a cloud in the sky. It is hot.
Us too. It's somewhere around 33 with the feels like it's like 38, I think, today. But the clouds are everywhere in the sky. Where there isn't clouds, it's like haze. You can't see the sky. It's ridiculous.
Do you guys have a lot of smog, or is that just weather haze?
This is weather haze. Toronto, which is about 4.5 hours southwest of us, they get a lot of smog because they have the population density. But we're 1 million people here, in a circle about, 150 kilometers in diameter. So the population density is not enough for smog here.
Yeah, I remember them being pretty big about not idling your vehicles and stuff up there, right? That's a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's a relatively big deal. But I think it's mostly in the governmental run things like the buses and stuff aren't supposed to be idling, and there is a law that you can only like idle your vehicle like above a certain temperature and below a certain temperature for it to be a reasonable reason to run the engine. But I haven't heard of any enforcement, so maybe it's a big deal, but it doesn't really feel like it to me. How about you guys? Got anything like that?
No, we don't particularly have laws about that. It's always kind of a joke that the police and the people who are using the taxpayer money are, always happy to leave their cars in. I mean, they could be in a sit-down restaurant, and you got to keep that air conditioning on so that they don't burn themselves when they get in the car.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different in Florida, but yeah, it gets hot here too. And I think a lot of people are surprised to find out that Canada gets so hot in the summer.
Yeah, we did a trip up there 2 years ago, just trying to figure like, hey, we'll go up to Maine, we'll go up to Canada and escape the heat a little bit, and it was ridiculous. Like we were there Canada Day, and yeah, it was just ridiculously hot, and nowhere near the air conditioning that we have down here in Florida. So it's just you were just hot, and living in Alaska too, we had the automatic start on the vehicles, and I mean, that's something that after having in Alaska to warm your car up is basically a non-negotiable here for cooling your car off. Like you would just be drenched in sweat before the car would cool off on its own.
Oh yeah. I have some 3D prints that I specifically left in my car just to see how well the PLA holds up to the temperature. And I think so far they haven't deformed, even though like the interior has probably reached well over 40 by now.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's enough to at least soften it.
So where did you go on Canada Day? I'm curious.
New York. I was somewhere outside of Montreal. I don't remember. It was a really small town, but we went and saw fireworks in a field. It was really, really cool because we had done our 4th of July stuff, and then we were up there and we went to like this little tiny town, and there were probably like, I don't know, maybe 100 people. And there were a few little food truck trailers and some bands and stuff like that. It was great. That was my first time like actually celebrating Canada Day. So it was sweet.
Yeah. Canada Day is on July 1st here. You guys have it on the 4th.
That's right. So you guys were first. You were the warm up.
Yeah. And Quebec has a special holiday also, St. John the Baptist Day. And I am just going to get so much hate for having pronounced it in English, but I think that's on the 24th, June 24th, I think, and that's their what they refer to as their kind of Canada Day equivalent. But there are like Quebecers who do identify as Canadians as well, and that's you might have celebrated one or the other.
So is July 1st when you celebrate not being American?
July 1st is the day we celebrate not being British.
Okay, not being British. Gotcha.
Not being British. Just like you guys, Independence Day, kind of same thing.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen people honestly ask Brits if they celebrate 4th of July over there, just like not even calling it Independence Day, just 4th of July, and getting some funny looks.
But wouldn't it be just awesome if the Brits celebrated July 4th as well, because it's like good riddance type thing? Like it could be thrown into your face. Yeah,
I could see that. I'm sure they would love to have that sweet, sweet tax money now, but whatevs.
Yeah. What's that joke? How does that joke go? How do Americans make tea? By throwing it into the harbor or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, I guess geopolitical situations aside, this episode is supposed to be the project episode because I think that's a common thread between our two YouTube channels is the viewers really like project videos. I don't know if you agree with that.
I totally agree. And, just pure mea culpa. Like I know I've had a lot of review videos coming out lately and some of the other stuff, and that's not my favorite kind of content to make. I love the projects, but I've been a little burnt out and just busy with work and things like that. So I'm getting back into the projects, and I don't think it's that I've had too many review videos. I just haven't had enough of my project videos in between. That's been the problem. I've been making less videos total, so a bigger percentage of them have been review videos. So I'm looking forward to making projects again.
Oh yeah, me too. And I'm totally with you with that. For me, like don't get me wrong, I love review videos simply because they go together so well. Like you just, from the unboxing to the testing to the messing with it off camera to giving your thoughts, like the whole thing is so linear and so nice to make, and it draws relatively good viewership because everyone wants to know about something before they buy it. But yeah, you're completely right. I also don't put out enough projects in between. And I think for me, I can blame work a little bit, but I do have a couple of days off a week that I should be working harder on projects. But I seem to bite off more than I can chew, Sometimes it's if they're not little projects, like the 3D printer, for example. Yeah, it's big. It's very big. And even like I have PCBWay, which has been a very kind sponsor. Like they're really understanding, and they're just messaging me like, so any projects nearly done? So it's pretty funny. I need to get back to it though. Definitely.
It's hard. I mean, when you sit there, even the mailbag videos for me are the easiest. I'm sure they are for you too, where you unbox the mail, you put some links in the description, and people love them. They're the easiest to make. They're the easiest to edit. And then you have the review videos that can go either way. I mean, obviously you're doing a 97-hour live stream soldering LEDs. So, I mean, reviewing that product can be a massive undertaking. And I have everything from, a video game system that I just put out where we spent 30 hours goofing around with it. Now, granted, that was fun, but, lots of goofing around with it over the weeks. And then there's other things that you can open it up, put out a review in a day or two. So it really runs a big gamut.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The mailbag videos are awesome to make, so that's for sure. And the review videos, I am trying to move my channel slowly but surely, probably won't see it this year, but into sort of a more standardized way to do reviews. Like, for example, the Multimeter Gauntlet, that was a project that I built in order to be able to test multimeters where there's not that many defining characteristics between different multimeters. So I wanted to standardize in one way that I would test it that could be standardized across everything. So no matter if I get a desktop multimeter worth, $10,000 from Tektronix, or what are they now? Whatever, you know what I mean. Or I get, a freebie from Harbor Freight sent all the way from Florida. I want there to be one common thread, and I think I am requesting from sponsors like Banggood now, who's been very kind sponsor as well. I'm requesting things that I can integrate into the workflow to try to get my reviews not only can be like a feels good in the hand type thing, but we can test accuracy, we can test real world situations, and hopefully the viewers get a little bit more out of the review videos at the same time.
Yeah, I sense that as somebody who doesn't have that ability, I'm generally reliant on you or some of the other people you blog to tell us how accurate they are, and I am doing more of the usability. Do I like it? Do I like it on a daily basis type thing? But you're definitely better equipped to do that. And I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I haven't seen the Gauntlet enough in the channel since you made it.
Yeah, and you're entirely right. And the reason for that is because I'm not very inspired by multimeter reviews. Like I could, for example, I can line up a day off let's say next week, and I can fire off 12 of those videos. I probably have 12 multimeters laying around here, but I just don't think that would be a great viewership solution. I don't think people are going to tune in for 12 multimeter reviews in a row. So that's the problem about being a YouTuber, and I know you know that too, is that sometimes the stuff that you need to get done or the stuff that you can get done is not what people want to see.
Yeah, I definitely deal with that. And that is the thing where, if I'm working 80, 90 hours a week and I have time to get out a review video because it took me 2-3 hours overall versus a project video that might take 30, 40 or, like your snow speeder, 100, whatever. That's tough because I do know that everybody wants to see high quality content, different content. And I also know that I have this creativity that I'm not particularly using as much when I do that kind of stuff. So, and you only have a limited amount of time to make videos. So it is important to make videos on things you care about. And, to be honest, like I don't really want another free meter in my shop. Like I can't give away all the meters I have right now. So it's, I can only do so many of those.
Yeah, you know what? I'll have to be honest. I think I would still accept free meters. but the thing is that the part I don't like is, subjecting my viewers to it, because it's not always the right thing for the viewers.
Right.
Which is,
I do think we talked about it a little bit. It is, to use the inside baseball term, it's evergreen content. And what I've kind of found with that is, I'll make a video on an Arduino starter kit or a meter or a scope. And what happens is people who are looking for that scope will find my video and then eventually subscribe to the channel because of that, and they become regular viewers. So although they may not want to see 30 scope review videos, those things being scattered in there, kind of, they're little hooks that attract people into the channel. The problem is just if there's too many of them, they push the other people away. So it's that fine balance.
Yeah, and obviously I'm leaning way too heavy on the review and kind of sponsorship side at the moment, but it's because I just don't have, and I want to be very clear. Another maker works 80, 90 hour weeks sometimes. I work 12-hour weeks. Oh, that's not fair. I work 18-hour weeks. I work very short hours. My time is very demanded outside of that, but like I am not the worker that another maker is. I'm just mostly lazy, I think.
Yeah. Plus, you're also putting out a lot of money on these things too. So, I mean, in terms of just buying supplies, I mean, you're spending a good bit of money for it. And I think I will say this, like, I don't think you're necessarily building the 3D printer just for selfish reasons. Like, I think you genuinely want to show the world how to make something like that. And you want to open source the design and all of that stuff. So I think you have very cool reasons for wanting to do that beyond just, hey, I want to build this 3D printer so I can show off the fact that I have this 3D printer. So I would basically consider it even sacrificial what you're doing, putting that much time and effort into it. And also just the extra time it takes to film it versus doing it. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. So yeah, you're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, actually, if I can explain, one of my project videos that I filmed this week was supposed to be straightforward. Pile of stuff replaced a extruder on his 3D printer. I don't know if you watched the video yet.
I have not.
Okay, so he upgrades from a single gear to a dual gear, and I'm of the thought that a single gear extruder is useless in 2020. Like, they work, but it's for the tiny little bit of extra cost, every printer should come with a dual gear extruder. But anyways, Banggood has sent me a whole bunch of 3D printer upgrades, and just switching this extruder took me 3 days because of the filming. So yeah. I wasn't happy the explanation between a 1 gear and a 2 gear extruder. I wasn't happy of my demonstration of filament getting stripped. And then on top of that, when I installed it, my printer wasn't playing nice with the stepper motor it came with, so I had to revert back to the stock stepper motor. So the whole thing, and I haven't even filmed, like I had to do a test print. So now I have the test print, and I haven't even filmed like my final impressions of the extruder yet. So something that would typically take me, maybe an hour with fiddling around off camera, has taken me 3 days to produce. 3 freaking days. So that's the problem with project videos, is that sometimes when it should have been a knockout, an hour plus an hour of editing, exporting, uploading, writing description, turned out to be 3 friggin' days and it's not done yet. That sucks.
And I'll tell you guys, I've tried to convince him to just faking things, showing the thing working, then, cutting away and having a perfectly printed thing on there. But he won't do it. I don't understand. He just won't do it. He demands this YouTube integrity or something like that.
Yeah, it's true. I think, and you know what? In fact, I feel like my channel doesn't have enough integrity because I make far more mistakes than it seems like I make in my videos. And I'm realizing that, and I have to address this in an upcoming video as well.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, you have to edit some because it would just be too painful to watch. But yeah, I try to avoid, and I think you're pretty good about avoiding making it seem like everything is just magical. But yeah, I agree.
So projects then, how about we can talk about some completed projects first, or at least stuff that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. How about that?
Sure, sounds good.
So I understand that you've been working on the bus conversion recently-ish.
Yes. So I have a friend who bought a 2008 Thomas school bus, crazy low miles, like 30,000 miles, diesel front engine thing, and has been wanting to turn it into a camper. And which is not, it's one of those things. It's a lot like the container buildings. And I think you like container buildings a lot, but people see containers as being $2,000 or $3,000 and they look at it as just a really cheap way to do something. And it's the same way with the buses. You can buy a bus for a couple $1,000s, but it's not an RV. And so, they're not that tall. There's just a lot of things about often the way they're geared. They're made for a lot of starting and stopping unless you get like an activity bus. So there's a lot of things about it that make it not an ideal RV. And he's just decided that he wants to overcome that. And so I've been helping. I'm a little bit more technical and have a little bit more renovation experience and stuff. So, we cut the roof completely off the bus, from right behind the driver's seat to the back. That involved pulling the entire wiring harness out. And then, we used 4 Harbor Freight floor jacks and some little I-beams and lifted it up about 20 inches or so. And then welded support posts. I'm not taking any credit for the welding. Full disclaimer, I want no credit for that welding. But anyway, so then, we welded some channel back on there and then re-sided the thing. And, it's been a massive project. And, right now we're at the point where, I got the bus running again and, just finished doing the 110 volt wiring, the 120 volt wiring, and, a lot of the DC wiring. So it's coming along. It has a bed frame and a little nook and stuff like that. So it's a cool project. So
is this person planning on just traveling within the bus or living in the bus? What's the intended use?
Well, for one thing, I do want to say while I'm thinking about it is he's the person who videoed my wedding, and he is a fantastic filmmaker, and his videos on YouTube are just criminally underviewed. So I do need to share a link with that. But anyway, he was originally planning on living in it, sort of camping out of it, and then keeping his existing home. Not trying to get too political, but you guys have seen the cost of wood and housing and all that kind of stuff. And things are just shooting through the roof a lot, sort of like they were in 2008. Housing going up 15% a month kind of deal. And, we're both kind of the mindset that that's not long-term sustainable. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not speaking for him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to cash out his house somewhere near the top of the market, live in the bus, and ride out any kind of nonsense crash. That's just kind of my guess, just knowing where he's at in his life and stuff. But yeah, he's making it livable. It's got 4, I think 1,500 watts worth of solar panels total, 6 or something batteries that are going to be in it, plus you plug in, what do they call that? Shore Electric and all that kind of stuff. So, he's making it livable.
Is he documenting any of this on YouTube?
Yeah, all of it. He's doing like weekly videos. It's kind of one of those things where it's a little bit in between. I would consider it more like entertainment. He's going through, like, you're not going to learn how to cut a bus in half through his videos, but he does very cinematic 10-minute videos of each week of the progress. So painting the bus, cutting the roof, welding the panels back on, that kind of stuff. So he does those in 10-minute chunks. And I think he's just about to release the last one of this first season. So in the video series, the bus has been painted, and he's probably in there beginning to run some framing or something like that.
So, guys, go into the video description or the show notes and check out the link for that YouTube channel. It'll be right there for you guys to see. And thanks a lot for letting me know, because I think we spoke about the bus shortly before, and I think we forgot to put links and stuff. So,
yeah, he's got some stuff worth seeing. It took him a while to get the videos out because he's sort of a perfectionist with that stuff. But it's well worth watching. It's entertaining, and it's just a cool project.
So nothing like us is what you're saying.
Oh no.
Awesome. And so, do you know what's the ETA? What's the end game here? When is this thing going to be done?
I'm thinking it'll be done middle of the summer. I'm going to go hook the solar and the DC stuff up probably tomorrow. And then after that, it's a blitz. The rest of the walls, the water works, the electric works, so it's just finishing touches on the inside. So I'm guessing realistically early August, late mid-July, something like that.
Oh, neat. So it's almost done. I just don't know how
close.
You work outside in this weather.
It's, what the thing is, I was kind of arguing with him about that jokingly, because he did take the month of March off or something like that, which was absolutely perfect. 50-degree days. And, we could have worked without him breaking a sweat. And then a week ago, I'm out there in 95-degree heat, running Romex and stuff.
Yeah, that's a little nuts. Here in March, I mean, you'd be totally justified on taking March off, because March gets to like minus 40 here.
Yeah.
But at least beginning of March, end of March, it starts heading north a little bit. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. So what have you been working on?
What am I working on? Well, actually, not much. So that was just the 3D printer. The upgrades. I'm starting to work on that. I'm also slowly working my way into the next PCBs. So very recently, I have reached a milestone on the commission project. So I am designing the boards in KiCad as we speak, kind of. And so I'm hoping to get the boards in next week so I can film it and then ship it out to where it needs to go, somewhere in the continental U.S.
Oh,
basically.
Very cool.
Yeah, going to be happy to have that off my plate.
Did you use the NRF?
No, that project is not what I need the NRF for.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the NRF, the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, we'll chat about that momentarily.
Okay.
But no, this is basically, it's a commercial doorbell. So you pick it up. It has all the transmission stuff that you need, everything. I had to add 2 proximity sensors to it and trigger the doorbell from them. Yeah. So all the transmission stuff is done by the commercial doorbell. However, because I'm me and I'm ambitious, I am already thinking of a way to make an open source doorbell project where maybe it'll be proximity sensor based. Maybe it'll have an ESP32 cam, so it'll actually push pictures to your phone or to a server or whatever when something comes by. Like, basically, think of an open source Ring.
Okay, yeah, I love it.
So, yeah, I'm thinking of that. I'm still in the very early, thinking about it process. I really don't want it to be Wi-Fi. I'd really love it if this could also work as sort of like a gate bell or a gate intercom or something. So I don't know. I'm thinking of seeing what we have in terms of LoRa, right?
Well, there's that, and then the one that I reviewed, and I need to do more projects on it. It's just a little tricky, but I did that one that had the GSM and LTE built into it, and could do a lot of sleep stuff and all that. That would be another option too, and they make a LoRa version of that also.
Yeah, I don't usually think in terms of LTE and GSM, because up here in Canada, you basically have to cut off a kidney in order to get a GSM or a LTE contract.
Okay.
Yeah, the lack. The U.S. is like in some aspects is like competition run amok, and here in Canada it's like protectionism run amok. We need somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. I've definitely, as I've traveled, like I wind up getting SIM cards other places, and it's a real pain. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled to have Google Fi, because I never have to get another SIM card again. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I wish. I need to sign up for a USPO box or something post-pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, if you know a place, I might know a place that you could send mail to in Florida or something like that if you ever needed to. For those of you guys who don't know, Google Fi runs $35 to $70 a month, depending on what you're doing. But the two killer things it has for me as a maker is, and just me who I am, is you can get up to 5 data-only SIM cards for free. And you just, whatever data you're using is what you pay for. So like I have a second phone that I primarily listen to podcasts on and, stuff like that. One that I'll keep in my pocket while I'm working. I don't really care if it gets broken. I have a data SIM in there so I can download podcasts. I have unlimited data. The other thing is you get unlimited data in 200 countries at the same cost. So I pay $70 a month and I can be in Africa and stream YouTube or stream Netflix just all day long, and I'm pretty good. So there is a limit where you'll slow down, but it's pretty high.
Yeah, that's that would be so neat. Like Google teases us. They kind of threaten to come up here and then they don't come up here, or we have some of their services and not really. It's hard because the CRTC has a protection racket on the big three up here. So it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough.
The other killer feature, I think I'm safe mentioning, but they have, I don't know what Google does, but their phones just go right through the Great Firewall. So you can use any kind of VPNs you want. I have my own VPNs in China, and they'll get shut down. The VPN will get blocked after a couple of hours of heavy use. And but Google Fi, I could be anywhere. I could be on Facebook, Google, whatever. Just go straight through the Great Firewall.
Huh. This is one thing. You are a very well-traveled person, and I've gone to such foreign lands as New York City, Las Vegas, and messing around Messina because I had nothing better to do.
Those are some interesting places. I mean, some of the most interesting in the world.
Well, definitely not Messina. There's not much to see there.
True.
In
true.
Ogdensburg.
Where's Ogdensburg?
I believe that is. I don't know. One is Thousand Islands area. The other one is Cornwall.
Okay.
I don't know. So just across. And, I guess I could have spat on the U.S. from the Canadian side of Niagara Falls.
You wouldn't be the first Canadian to do that.
No. We looked at the bridge and thought, pass.
Yeah. I did a cruise to the Thousand Islands once when I was in high school. It was a nice area.
Yeah, it does seem like a really nice area. That area of Canada is well known for cottage country.
Yeah,
a lot of Canadians have cottages down there. But the cottage industry is so weird because as Canadians, we only can use them 4 or 5 months out of the year. So unless you have a straight up house, which is in the kind of cottage area, it's kind of useless. There's going to be 3 feet of snow most of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing some of it is the mentality, but we would always say, I think I mentioned this before, but in Alaska, it's not an Alaskan phrase, but the phrase, make hay while the sun's shining is so often used in Alaska because you only have 2 or 3 good months. And it's just amazing how people adjust. And I mean, they will use every single minute of daylight to go out there and do things like that. So it's the same thing. People have little cottages and we'll spend every moment in them when the light's out.
Yeah, my parents have a cottage not too far from the city here. And I was planning a couple of boat-type projects, but it seems like my parents are wanting to sell their cottage, so that probably won't happen. And when I was testing my solar panels, the plan was to go up to my parents' cottage because it's a little secluded. I don't have to stand out in a field like a total knob talking to myself or talking to my cell phone while pointing at at solar panels, but thankfully because of the pandemic, I managed to find an empty movie theater, and I went into their back lot, basically behind the building, and nobody bothered me there. But yeah, I'm kind of mourning that my parents are going to be selling the cottage, because my ultimate goal one day, talking about projects, my ultimate goal was to build a full electric raft, basically almost like a houseboat, but far smaller, more like a house tent, like a tent boat or something like that, and cruise around. And I live right near the Ottawa River here in Ottawa, because it kind of spans one end to the other. And that is not a place where you want to prototype something you've built yourself, because the current is so strong. You're going to be out in the Atlantic Ocean by the time you get your stuff figured out. So yeah, Calm Lake, like where my parents' cottage is, was going to be the plan there. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing very many boat-related things because of that.
That stinks.
Yeah,
it did sound like a neat project. You were going to do what, solar and LiPo batteries, or solar and LiFePO, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, LiFePO4. I really don't know how to pronounce them, but lithium iron phosphate batteries was the plan. Okay. You can get them fairly cheap on AliExpress. Like we're talking, I don't know, like I think 100 amp hours was about $300 shipped or $400 shipped. So it's not cheap, but it's not like it's not super expensive like it is buying them locally. Because I think locally 40 amp hours is like $680 or something like that. Yeah. So I was planning that, a big old brushless motor, or a big old brushed motor maybe, and drive shaft prop, and then floating platform. I mean, the math on it is pretty simple. I can get 55-gallon drums here, like plastic barrels. I think they're like $20 a piece, so I probably need about 6 of those. And then lumber pre-pandemic was very reasonable. Like 2x3s used to be $2 or $3 each. And then, I could basically build a raft, get a couple solar panels. Solar panels would have been a couple $100 as well. But yeah, you get a solar raft, and whatever, I can do whatever on it. I can cruise the Ottawa River, go fishing, all sorts of things. I could have done like longevity tests. How long could I drive this thing on a single charge and stuff like that? It would have been interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, in college, when we had our homecoming parade, it was the floats were actually floats, and we had to race them, and they were generally either on styrofoam or on those barrels. So I have good memories of being out on rafts made of barrels.
I'm trying to think. Have you ever heard of a channel called Tech Ingredients?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they made a battery powered, not solar, but a battery powered boat, and the method to construct the pontoons. And if I'm looking at it, as long as the epoxy is reasonably priced, I believe that would be even either cheaper or close to the same price as barrels. But then you've got a displacement hull, so you've increased your efficiency like something like tenfold compared to barrels. So I was looking forward to maybe trying that out, because I can swing, for a summer I can swing a couple $100 in wood and epoxy if I'm going to end up with something usable out of it. But yeah, again, I don't want to test it on the Ottawa River. That's just scary.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I mean, that could still happen one day. You never know.
I think, you know what? I think I'll have to make it happen one day. Peter Streepel, basically a remote control aircraft YouTuber. Actually, I think that's how he started, but he did build like 4 actual flying electric aircraft that he built from scratch, from like foam and welding lightweight airframes together. But he built an all-electric boat. He basically bought a boat, and then he integrated 2 electric motors into it, made a roof. It was like a little dinghy, like a rowboat, but he put a little low-slung roof on it and put solar panels on it. So I think at some point I'm going to have to make it happen, but it won't be this year, and it probably won't be next year if I do.
That sounds fun. I'd like to do a project like that. Helping my friend with the bus has, made me want to go back and do some kind of big project like that. My house is set up kind of weird. I don't have a great way to get something giant in my backyard, which makes it a little tricky. So, I'd have to think about that. And I wouldn't want a project that isn't at my house where I couldn't just work at it at any time. So I'd have to kind of think that through. But, I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, we have a tiny, tiny property here. Our property is probably about 30 feet wide, and it's about 260 feet deep. We can't get anything in and out of the backyard. It would have to be the garage, and I'd have to sell my beloved CRX to get something in the garage. So, it's probably going to happen because honestly, the CRX is just taking up space at this point, and it is worth quite a bit. But I need to get rid of it to move on, I think.
What year is the CRX? I love that's the flat back,
Yep.
thing, right? Yeah.
That's exactly what you're thinking of. It's a 1989 CRX SI.
Yeah.
It's in Phoenix yellow, and it's got 43,000 miles on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had good memories. Several people had those in college, when I went to college in the 90s, and they were just such sweet cars.
Yeah, just for reference for people listening, I am 5'9", approximately. Yeah, approximately 5'9", and in order to not have my left foot on the clutch pedal, to not push on the clutch pedal, my knee has to be bent and up near the steering wheel. That's how small these things are.
That's insane.
They're tiny. I think they weigh, I believe they weigh about 1,700 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, they weigh like nothing. It's got a 1.6 liter non-VTEC engine because it really predates VTEC engines being inexpensive. So the top end model in Japan came with a dual cam VTEC engine, but the top models here in North America did not have that engine, had a single cam normal engine. But it's a pretty sweet car. Manual transmission, it's got the sunroof, it's got rear disc brakes, which is very odd for a Japanese car of that vintage. It's got rear sway bars. It's got the car is neat, and it's a 2-seater.
I've sat in the back of one, so that's actually kind of funny. In South Carolina, I had a friend who had one, and me and my friend John were in there, and I got stuck in the back, and it was unbelievably hot under that glass sitting in the back.
Oh, absolutely. The Japanese Speck one, you can get bronze tinted glass. So this is very early OEM baked on tint, and so it's basically like bronze. I think it's the same way that they layer the gold visors on astronauts' spacesuits, but just with a cheaper material instead of gold.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one doesn't have it. It doesn't have all the Japanese goodies because in the 90s in North America, but or 80s I should say in North America, but still it's a neat car. It's really cool.
That's really crazy the way they make sticks that are, you'd think that they would prioritize legroom on something like that, because I know some of the Porsches, the 911 I can drive, but like the Boxster, if the Boxster's a stick, there's just zero chance that I can get my foot off the clutch far enough to disengage it. Like it's physically impossible. And there's just a lot of those smaller cars like that they came in stick with just horrible leg positions.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Porsche excuse is, but I know the Japanese cars, you get a little bit more room in Japan because they're right-hand drive. So your left foot is along the center console. So they designed the center console so that you could slide your foot kind of on the side. But when you flip the steering wheel to our side, to the left side, your left foot is now up against the kick panel, and so now you've got no room. So the Japanese cars tend to make a little bit more sense in Japan than they do here.
I was just telling some of this stick shift story the other day. Like when you're, at least me, when you're generally making a left-hand turn, a lot of times you'll put the clutch all the way in and shift into second as you're going through the turn, because that's what you're going to use when you get out of the turn. And I have been driving stick all through college, and my mom had a similar car, but it was automatic, and I was driving her car with her in the passenger seat, and we start to go through a turn, and it was one of the ones with the bigger brake pedals. And so we're halfway through the turn, and I just left foot jam on the brake pedal, thinking I'm getting ready to hit the clutch, and just almost brought us to a complete stop, threw my mom forward in the car because I totally forgot it didn't have a clutch when I was going through the turn.
Yep. Do you know why the automatics have a double wide brake pedal compared to the standards?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's why.
So the reason is actually so that you can 2-foot the brake if your engine fails. So if your engine shuts off, your brakes are boosted or are assisted by engine vacuum. So if your engine shuts off, then you get far less braking power. So the pedal is bigger, so you're able to put both your feet on to 2-foot the brakes without assist.
That's
on a manual car, if the engine shuts down, you can still downshift. And you can still use the drag of the engine to slow you at the same time as you have the brakes on. So that's what the double wide pedal is for.
Yeah, multiple times I've talked to people who said their battery light came on, and I'm just like, all right, just know this: if the car stalls, you're not going to have power brakes, and your steering is going to get harder. Just talking people through that kind of thing, because people don't expect that if your car stalls on the freeway, you're not going to have the same braking power.
Nope, you have barely any. Like, really, the comparison is huge. And we push cars into the shop all the time, and if one has a broken serpentine belt, for example, you can start it and it runs, and the brake pedal works just the same. But as soon as you go to turn, the fact that you don't have the assisted the power steering, you almost plow into the wall because you're not expecting it. Everything else feels normal, but turning the steering wheel is like rock hard.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And if some people say, hey, I had a car without power steering, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but those cars were designed for no power steering. So they had a lower ratio in the steering rack.
And a bigger steering wheel usually.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I deal in Japanese cars, and they don't make any compromises. Like, basically they just gear down the steering rack. But yeah, this is the deal, man. Like, when your car dies, all those accessories are no longer there to help you.
Yep.
Crazy stuff. So do you have, I guess I spoke a bit more about the future projects that I have envisioned. Do you have anything that you would like to do and don't have the means to do it now, or don't have the drive or the ability to do it now?
I don't know about that, but I do have one that I'm super excited about. It's kind of funny, as you said that, I looked over to my left, and in my office, I have this computer desk that basically is where I fix computers, and it's an L-shaped desk with an L-shaped shelf above it. And I finally came up with a little bit of a vision of what to do with that area. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you'd picture something... I'm not trying to go all space with my aesthetic, but if you picture something like a NASA control room, like Apollo era, and you look at it, you can see that basically everything on the panel is a bunch of other little panels. So you'll have squares and rectangles, and they might be put in with either 2 or 4 screws. You take those screws out, and an entire bank of switches will come out, or a monitor will come out, or something like that. What I'm thinking about doing is building an L-shaped control panel in my office. And this solves a couple of problems, because what I've been thinking about is I want to build little Arduino projects. Like, I have my shooting galleries, I have interfaces for my doorbells, and, graphical user interfaces and buttons and switches and all kinds of stuff like that. But I don't particularly have a really good place to put them. And so what I'm going to do is, this thing is going to be about 1 foot deep. And I have 3 different size panels. This can be a little hard to explain, but I have 3 different size panels. And essentially, when I'm done, I'm going to be able to put, I think, 14 11 by 16 and a half panels, which could also be broken down into smaller panels, and then another 6 11 by 11 panels, and then some other miscellaneous panels around there. There'll be like a 32-inch screen and stuff like that. But basically, all my Raspberry Pis, even my shooting galleries, like, so a little tiny 5.5 by 5.5 panel can be a target for a shooting gallery. And just the ability that as I make these things, I can switch them out and have little blinky lights, and they all just kind of work together. So I'm super stoked about that. I ripped apart that side of my office, and I have enough 2x4s, so I don't actually have to go to Home Depot and pay $8 each for them. But I'm going to be building that over the next week or two. I'm determined to not make this project work. Like I just want to have fun with it. But that's kind of what I'm doing over the next couple of weeks. So I'm pretty excited about that one.
Are you going to have like laser cut panels with the inputs for your monitor, for example? Like
at least some of that stuff.
Front?
Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be like I may do like USB ports or something like that. So it's at the depth that I have. I actually do have the ability to put a full ATX motherboard back there, but I would most likely turn it around so all the wiring and connections are inside, and then put USB ports and keyboard ports and things like that in the front. So I'm building some retro stuff. We can kind of go over that, but the idea would be, so I would have, if I had switches, they would be laser cut holes with laser cut labels and things like that. Or I'm building a retro computer, and the little thing that tells you how many megahertz the thing is in, like that little 4-segment or 4x7 segment LCD LED will be in there and stuff like that. So all labeled and laser cut and all that. So
I have a request for a panel.
Okay.
I would love if you built a supercomputer panel like Julian Eilert and Big Clive have. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So I would love if you dedicated one of those panels to a supercomputer. That would be
okay. I love it.
That would be my wish.
And I want my office to be a fun place. Like I have the train platform, and this thing is close enough to it where I could integrate with the train platform. But like for instance, like as you come in the door, I want a big red button that says "Don't push this," and if you push it, like a 12-volt windshield washer sprayer will just squirt water at you for pushing it. And just that kind of stuff. Like I want a lot of weird interactive things, and I want to be able to demonstrate what an Arduino is and how all that stuff is working. So just, that kind of thing. Supercomputers, Pis, Arduinos. And I love the idea that if I get bored of something or if I want to work on something, I just pull the whole panel out and swap it in with something else.
Have you ever heard of the video game Among Us?
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
So in Among Us, you have to go around and do tasks in order to, complete. You've got a map with, you're on a spaceship, and there's some tasks that need to be done in order for the spaceship to, succeed. And there's one imposter that goes around and tries to sabotage stuff and tries to murder the rest of the crew. But the crew, the tasks that they have to do are typically little simple puzzles. And I think some of those puzzles you can use as inspiration for panels on your setup there. Like, for example, there's one where you have to flip switches in the correct order or whatever to activate something. So that could be some sort of like a passcode. You can have toggle switches that they have to be toggled the right way in order to start the PC, for example.
Absolutely. I love that. Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I'm building a retro, so I'll have a retro Pi in there. I'm going to have a retro PC, with all of the old slots and cards and stuff like that, and floppy disks and all that. And I can cut power to the monitor until you get the right sequence, and take little escape room type games and all that. I think what I really love about it though is, for one thing, it's kind of a fun piece to just see. But on the other hand, it gives me something. I can take the creativity with the Arduino stuff and build something that I'm actually going to keep. To my right, I've got a whole pile of Arduinos that I've programmed and, for projects for the channel. And I need to go through and just wipe them all and put a blank sketch on them or something like that, so that, I'm not having outputs firing up and stuff. But, that's actually a place where I can keep projects and display them, and people can interact with them and have fun with them. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
That's a fantastic idea. So what's the frame built out of? Are you going to build it all out of the 2x4s you were talking about?
So I think what I'm going to do, and I'm actually using that green laser level that I got a couple months ago, but because it needs to be fairly perfect. Ideally, you're not going to see much of the actual body. So it will be, the way the frame is going to work is it's going to be 16.5 on center. So, I'll have 3 1/4 out of 2x4. So I'll have 3/4 of an inch on each side that I could screw something in on. And then there'll be 14 total of those 16.5 by 11 panels. And the reason for that is the larger wood for the laser cutters comes in at I think 18 by 20 or something like that. So I can cut those panels down and make sure I have perfect edges and stuff like that and still fit them in the laser. And then I have a bunch of 12 by 12 panels that I can cut down. But so yeah, the whole thing will be a bunch of those rectangles, and then those rectangles can be subdivided. So in other words, if I don't want a big panel, I can put, instead of one 16.5 by 11, I can put 6 5.5 by 5.5. So that's the same size. So ideally, like, you won't see much of the actual body. It'll just be panel, 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 panel. And then there'll be a spot where there's going to be a TV sunk in a panel that's a lot bigger, obviously. And stuff like that. So the faces of them will be mostly wood. I could do acrylic or something. And that's really the other thing, is I could spend a lot of time and money trying to go with like a space aesthetic. But instead, I just want to make the projects. Like, I want to, so I might even purposely stain them different colors or paint them different colors or something like that. I mean, not gaudy, but just so that I'm not trying to make every single thing look exactly the same. And if I run out of this one kind of paint, it's going to look like garbage. So, yeah, so it'll be wood panels pretty much on all sides.
And they're going to be screwed in, or are they going to be like magnetically affixed, or they're going to be pins and clips or something? At
a yard sale, I got these really kind of cool, relatively large, you'll appreciate this, Robertson head. Yeah, but I would say the head is about the size of a dime with like a number 2 Robertson in the middle. So it's sort of a decorative screw that I think I would put on all 4 corners of the panels. I've thought about magnets, and eventually, like, what I'd like to sort of standardize some kind of card socket, maybe for those 5.5 by 5.5 panels, where they could actually come in and click and get power and network and all that stuff from one thing. But I'm starting off with screwing them in, and then I can always adjust from there.
Yeah, that should be pretty neat. Is there sort of like a time frame where we're gonna see this project introduced on your YouTube channel?
I don't think I'm too far out. So one of the things I said earlier is I'm determined to make this not work. I think one of the things that got me burned out on YouTube is I would make a shooting gallery that I didn't particularly need for myself, and I would put a lot of effort into it, and it would get frustrating and just felt like a lot of work. So, when I have a day where I feel like doing something, I'm going to screw some boards together and stuff like that. But I think it's probably a week or two, and it'll be ready to show. The only thing that would hold me off possibly is the big panel for the TV. I'm probably going to take to one of my friends that has a 4x8 CNC and let him CNC the panel for the TV. And I'm debating, I have a retro PC, so this is kind of the second part of the project. I've been building 2 new old stock computers. So not every single part is new old stock, but basically from the mid 90s. And, if you go back to the original PC, they had 8-bit ISA slots, and then we went to 16-bit ISA, and then PCI and all these other various graphics card slots. And occasionally with my work, I do data recovery or I'll get some old hardware. And I really want to keep the ability to interface with every kind of slot or socket that came on anything IBM PC or later. I don't need to use the thing on a daily basis, but I want serial, I want parallel, I want ISA, I want all these various slots. And so right now I have 2 new old stock motherboards. One's a socket 7, the other one's a slot 1, but they go all the way back to having ISA slots and stuff like that. So I'm building that into the enclosure so I can do some retro gaming, play some older software. And then again, if I need to do data recovery on an older MFM hard drive from an IBM PC, I actually have a place that I can plug that card in and use it. So I'm kind of building all that into the thing as well. So that'll take a little bit extra time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have any like notable retro games that you're looking forward to?
So I was a big fan of the Police Quest, Space Quest, King's Quest games. I don't know if you've ever played those.
No.
So yeah, you're kind of young for that, but back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a series. There were like 3 Space Quests, I think like 6 King's Quest, and a couple of Police Quests. And they were the type of game where you could walk around with your keyboard or joystick, and then you would, for Police Quest, you would say, pick up radio, or whatever. And what was really funny is the Police Quest one was known for being like super pedantic. It was made by a police chief in, I think, LA or something like that. And so like you would go out there and you would go to hop in your car and leave. And if you didn't do a complete walk around your car, stopping at multiple points around the car, you would just die because you didn't do your proper safety check. And it was just super pedantic about like making sure you did everything in the right order, but it was a lot of fun back in the day. And there was another one that would probably have more general appeal, which is King's Quest, which had a lot of like just really, really good humor, like a lot of weird fairy tale humor and stuff like that. And then there was a Space Quest one that had just, I like the games because they never really took themselves too seriously, but they were just a lot of fun for that kind of stuff. You walk around, you interact with people, solve puzzles, stuff like that. So yeah, those three are probably highest on my list. And I'll probably put some arcade stuff, and I have all the emulators. The thing I like about the retro stuff is, with the game system I just reviewed, has everything from Coleco and Atari to regular NES to Super Nintendo to 64 to even PlayStation and PSP games. And what's really kind of neat about that is whoever walks in the office, there's something that they'll enjoy playing. And so, it really doesn't matter if you're anybody 50 or younger, there's something that's in your genre, which is kind of fun for people to come in.
Any chance for some sort of like a retro joystick and button type setup to add to your panel mount stuff?
Yeah, so I would love to. What I kind of want to do, I'm a little hesitant. I love my desks, but I'm thinking about cutting a hole in the desk and making a drop-in section for dropping in controls right in front of that thing. Like, there's a game I used to love, and most people have never played it, but when they play it, they love it. There's a game called Hyper Bowl, and it's a bowling game, and what's different about it is you can steer the bowling ball, and it's a giant trackball, like probably 1.5 times the size of a billiard ball. And so you sort of like run your hand over it and keep going forward, and then like you can kind of steer the ball. So you can play in a normal bowling lane, but then they have these insane things where like you're going through the entire city of Tokyo. So like the pins are on one side of Tokyo and you're on the other side of Tokyo, and you have to bowl your way through there, steering the ball through all the traffic and the pedestrians and all that kind of stuff, and try to get a strike like after 3 minutes of going forward with this thing. So like you're exhausted trying to bowl, rolling the ball through the streets of Tokyo. It's just such a, like, stuff like that is just a really fun thing that I'd love to have a real good trackball that I could drop in the desk and then maybe switch it out with arcade. And I've thought about doing a smaller vertical screen for pinball or something like that.
That's actually hilarious. But as soon as you said that you want to maybe cut a hole in your desk, I had some shivers go down my spine because I'm in the middle of building a second workbench, basically. And lumber isn't cheap, and I can't even imagine cutting a hole in the desk. So what about some sort of pull-out drawer from the bottom that locks open, and that could be controls, for example?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea, and that's perfectly fine. No matter how I slice it, this desk is going to get messed up because you may not see where it's messed up, but I'm going to be attaching 100 pounds of electronics and 2x4s to the desk, so it's going to get. And the fact is, the only thing I'm really going to mess up is about let's say 3/4 of a sheet of MDF. So it's not a major deal. But yeah, that is a good idea to have some kind of slide out thing. And I got a bunch of server equipment recently. So I have a ton of really heavy duty drawer slides that could handle not only having controls on them, but you actually beating on the controls.
There we go. I haven't even gone out. Like, honestly, last year I bought a table saw and I haven't even pulled it out yet because like I don't have any space to work in my sort of YouTubing area, so I have to bring it up like from the basement out the door and then play with it outside. So I've got a table saw that I bought specifically because I want to add drawers to one of my workbenches, but it's like it's just I haven't had the wherewithal to take that thing and drag it all the way upstairs, and then I have to go buy plywood. Like this, this is the only thing that's really affecting me personally in the pandemic. I couldn't care less about not seeing people on a daily basis. That's pretty, I mean, that's pretty par for the course for me anyways. But like the fact that the Home Depot is, you know, biological warfare, just walking in there and the prices of stuff, those are the things that really affect me on a daily basis.
I think, you know, this is slightly off topic, but you know, you talk about the table saw. When everybody came back from World War II, they were in the machine shops and the wood shops and stuff like that, making stuff for World War II. They used these radial arm saws, the big saw where the blade's exposed and you pull it toward yourself, and it was sort of this multi-use tool. And so eventually Craftsman and all the various companies started selling smaller radial arm saws to the public, because everybody used them in their work and in the military and wanted to have them at home. And then they sort of fell out of favor because people realized that the smaller chop saws and miter saws and sliding miter saws they were more accurate, they were lighter, they were more portable. And I sort of think the same thing is going to happen with the table saw, not to the same extent, but there's really kind of a thing going on with cheaper track saws. And I don't know if you've ever seen like a real track saw. There was always this Festool one that could run you $1,500, but they even sell them in the grocery stores in Europe now. And it looks like maybe a 6.5-inch circular saw. So not like quite a full 7.25, and it has like a lot more of a guard on there, but they have these, interlocking tracks that basically just sit on top of your wood with friction, and they're just ridiculously accurate and really good dust collection and stuff like that. And for a lot of people, I think they're going to find out that for the homeowner, they're not only more accurate, because you're trying to balance, you know, when you pass a 3/4-inch piece of wood through the saw, like a lot of times I'll get my wife to come out and help balance it. I've got stands all over the place and roller top things and slidey things to lift this 100-pound sheet of wood through there, where a track saw will cut from the top and they're just, you know, you're not manhandling the whole piece. And it's amazing how accurate they are. And I think in the next 5 years, I think a lot more people who are getting into this stuff are going to start going track saw over table saw.
Yeah, they need to come down in price still, because here the cheapest one I can find on Amazon is $180. It's a Wen brand. Yeah. And that doesn't include the tracks. Then you have to pay $140 for the tracks.
It doesn't include any? I thought it included two.
Let me see here. Just doing this live. Doing it live.
No, so the Wen is a decent reviewed one, and it's basically a copy of what everybody's selling in Europe. There's the grocery store Lidl, and some of the other ones actually sell them there. But I think we're going to get the similar cheap track saws. But I mean, even, you know, if you could get out the door for $200, it's pretty hard to buy a table saw now for much cheaper than $200, and those are going to be garbage.
Being honest here, I always buy my tools used, because tools are one of those things where, especially in my town, I live in a government town. Like, this is where the federal government is. People here have way too much money. I wish that was my problem, but it isn't. So, like, for example, if they have a project, they'll go buy a table saw, and then they'll use it for that one project. It'll sit in their garage for 10 years, and then they're going to sell it for pennies on the dollar. So I bought my table saw for $40.
Wow. What brand?
So I think it was a Craftsman.
Okay. Yeah.
No table, like no stand though, which wasn't a problem, because last year I had a 2002 CRV, and in the I don't know if anybody cares, but in the trunk of the CRV, there's a picnic table. Instead, there's usually like a piece of wood or plastic covering the spare tire. Well, the spare tire is on the back, and where that piece of wood usually is actually a picnic table. That's an original. That's a Honda thing, and I was going to use that as a table, but I sold the CRV, and now I don't have a table.
That is true. That you're about $260 US to get out the door with the tracks too. So you're new for new. You're about the price of what I would consider pretty poor. Like the cheapest track saw is about the same price as the cheapest table saws, ish.
I wonder if Banggood has track saws. Give me a second here. I have Banggood open.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Because I'm up for it. Like, honestly, I'm always thinking of ways to lower my footprint, because the housing crisis that is going on right now. If I could cash out and go live on a boat, like I probably would at this point. My wife, not so much because she gets motion sick like super easily. But no, I don't see any track saws on Banggood's website. So
if this does interest you, there's a YouTuber named Peter Millard who's pretty much the go-to, Millard. I think he's pretty much the go-to for track saws, and he reviews these things, shows you what to do, what to look for, all that kind of stuff. He does this thing called the 10-minute workshop, and it's really nice because the videos are generally 10, 11 minutes, but just real good content on track saws. I don't own one, so I'm not speaking from experience, but I actually own 2 table saws. I have one giant one and then one that's being lent out for that bus project. And so, but just from experience, I think that's where we're going.
Oh, I think, okay, so Banggood sells the rails. I have the rails here. 244.56 Canadian for size A, whatever the hell. Oh, no, those are rails for a regular circular saw. You bolt a regular circular saw to these rails.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I bought at Princess Auto, basically Canadian Harbor Freight, a clamp that is just over 4 feet wide that is meant to do crosscuts on plywood. So basically you clamp it on both sides and then it guides your circular saw. You put the circular saw's fence or whatever the hell it is right up on that guide, and then you can cut across. But still, you still need a table saw to do a rip cut, a straight rip cut on a piece of plywood, though.
Yeah, I mean, and that's good, but it's nowhere near the same as the other one.
No, for sure. And even like I'm totally cool with downsizing stuff because, like, for example, my dad's got one of those what is it, like the 4-inch circular saws, the handheld circular saws, and I've used that plenty, and that's awesome. Just the only thing is it's harder to get a straight cut because you don't have like the 6.5 or 6.25 inch blade to keep you going relatively straight, right? You can wander a little bit more with it.
Yep.
Yeah, just is what it is,
Yeah. So getting back to what we were talking about, my whole office is torn up right now. My server sits on top of that shelf that I'm putting all this stuff on, so the server is back there with the laser. There's one thing I'm kind of hoping, I think there's a very low chance of this, but there's a slight chance I might get to upgrade my laser. My friend ordered basically $3,000, one that can do 20 inches by 28 inches, and I think his is 60 watts. And the lasers go up pretty quick in price as you go bigger cutting area and stuff like that. But he pre-ordered one and then canceled it because they said it wasn't going to get here till July, and he found out he could order a real one just right from the store and get it. So he did that, and they wound up shipping both of them. Ooh. So they gave him his money back on the first one already. So like he paid them once and has 2 lasers. And so we're trying to work out a deal. It's 450 pounds, but I think I could get it in my van. And so there's a slight chance I might get a pretty good deal on a 20 by 28 laser, which might affect my plans a little bit.
Once I'm done with the 3D printer, I have to seriously consider 2 possibilities. Once the giant 3D printer is done, either I start the prototyping, at least the mental prototyping, for a DIY laser cutter or a DIY milling machine. One of the 2 is going to have to happen. Could be both. I mean, there's nothing really stopping both, but I think I think it'll be too much of a mental exercise to make both work in one unit for me.
Yeah. I think one of the things that for people who aren't familiar with the laser cutters, they definitely have their limitations. They're not going to cut super thick material and stuff like that. But one of the things that's a little hard for people to understand, when you watch something like 3D printers, pretty much everybody understands the 3D printers, and you either go download something off Thingiverse and you might be able to do a little bit of remixing it, but you basically get what you get. Or you do what you've done and you learn CAD and you spend 20, 30, 40 hours building out your own 3D model of something. Well, the difference with a laser cutter is you go in there with something like Microsoft Paint or Inkscape, and whatever you draw in black will engrave and whatever you draw in red will cut. And the thing is smart enough to figure out which order to do those things in. So, I'll make something like when I'm talking about making these panels for my office, I'm going to get my little micrometer, my little caliper, and measure out, hey, I need a 3 millimeter hole here, and I need a bunch of these 3 millimeters apart, and then I'm gonna pick whatever font I want off of Windows, and I'm gonna type in the labels, and then the labels will be black, the holes will be red, and I put it in there, and a minute later, that thing comes out of the laser just cut and clean and perfect. There's not 17 hours like there is with a 3D printer, and if you mess up, you just throw another one in there. It's just super quick. So it's a little hard to fathom how much different it is working with a laser versus working with a CNC. The big difference too with the CNC is, if you think about it, the laser never actually touches, you're not physically touching the device as you're using it. So with a CNC, you have to make sure that you have the clamps down and that you're not going to run the router into the clamps and all that kind of stuff, where with the laser, it can be as delicate as you want because it's just going to slice right through it.
Yep. William Osman made his own laser cutter. I don't think it was well documented on YouTube or anything. I think he just made it for fun. And that's been the inspiration behind wanting to build my own. But once you start pricing out the components, it starts to seem like a pre-built laser is a better deal, but still not quite, because I think it's like $700 right now to get a K40 laser in Canada, something like that. I think $700 was the cheapest I found, and that's a dire price. That's kind of expensive.
Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., I bought mine for $200, and I know another person who sold one for $300, and they're available here a little cheaper. $400 to $450 is kind of standard retail. I'm sure they're a little higher now with everybody being stuck at home or having been stuck at home. But they can definitely get expensive. But if you can pick one up at the $200, $300, $400 range, like, it's one of those things, just jump on it. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I wish we do. You know what? My local library does have. Local library. My city's library across town has one that you could use for free, but it's like 40 minutes each direction. Go there, wait in line, cut my stuff, and then come back. It's going to be
still faster than you could print a Benchy.
Yeah. No. I print. No, that's actually not true, because I printed a Benchy as part of the upgrade. This is my first Benchy I've ever printed. Okay. And it took 2 hours and 10 minutes. So it's pretty close, actually. Yeah, I didn't spend any fuel. So there's that. Yeah. My damn Volvo, I'll tell you, I just put $90 of gas into it, and I just stopped it because I was like, I can't afford any more. Stop. Stop, I'm already dead. It takes premium, right? Because it's turbocharged. Oh, yeah. So it was a lot of money.
Have you ever not put premium in it?
No. I think it's programmed well enough that it'll just retard the timing and lower the power. But I thought that might have been kind of more of a recent development, so I don't want to risk it. Especially the difference between premium and regular fuel is probably, for a tank, is probably going to be like $15. So I don't want to waste like $70 of gas trying it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a convertible. I had a Sunbird convertible, so basically a Chevy Cavalier with a turbo in it, and that thing was fast. But if you didn't put premium gas in there, like, it just turned into a dog. It went from being like just this crazy fast sleeper car to being just nothing if you didn't put a premium in it.
Yeah, my wife's mom has a Touareg, the Volkswagen thing. And she didn't even know that you had to put premium in it. So thankfully, the manufacturer decided it was a good idea to put like a regular tune and like a non-premium fuel tune. So she hasn't actually noticed the difference. But when I pointed it out to her, she's like, oh, I didn't know that. So when you put premium in it, she unlocks something like, 30 horsepower more or something like that.
Well, if anybody knows how to offer multiple tunes for their vehicles, it's definitely VW.
Yep. And you know what? The hate is not even fair, because pretty much all the manufacturers that have diesels have cheated. But Volkswagen was just the scapegoat. I'm sure Ford and GM with their Power Smokes and their Failomaxes or whatever, I'm sure those don't meet emission standards. But probably instead of doing dual tune, they probably just, pay the money.
Yeah. Yeah, like a good American would.
Yeah, they just lobby their way around it and blame the foreigners for any problems.
That's right. Sneaky Germans.
Well, anything else we should chat about? I'm kind of out.
Yeah, nothing much. Just living life.
So what's coming in the future? Do you have anything after the desk project?
Probably building a lot of panels for it. I'm really excited about the retro PC thing. I think that's going to be, it's hard to know if people are going to care enough to make videos about it. And if people don't really want to watch it, like I'm not going to subject people to it, but I have a lot of fun stuff I want to do with that. I've collected a lot of vintage hardware. I have some old stuff I want to Arduino-fy. Like for instance, I had that flight yoke thing that was made to attach to a mouse. And I just thought, the experience of attaching a flight yoke to a mouse was such a garbage experience. But I think about it. I mean, that was with 1993 technology, with an Arduino and a gyro and, or something like that. Like you could probably make something pretty dang cool.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's on the horizon, playing with stuff like that. I want to do a little bit more software tutorials. I say it all the time, but I just feel like, coding is just a way to set people free and to give people really cool experiences. So I'm going to pick back up on the other channel. I've got a coding tutorial on making your own URL shortener, so you can make your own like Bitly type thing. I've got one for building your own website monitor, so you can get a notification when your website goes down, and another Arduino control panel and stuff like that I've been working on. So I'm putting together some coding tutorials, putting together some maker tutorials. Yeah, I mean those are the main things. Part of it is there are some channels that have a certain audience. Like you just know the people who go to Pile of Stuff's channel, like they sit down, they want to watch a guy drink a beer and tinker and chat. And I feel like my viewers are a lot more mixed. I don't feel like I have one particular type of viewers because I don't really have one particular type of content. So it's a little hard for me to predict what people are going to like. But I guess if I could say this, like I thought about it the other day that I had a lot of fun when I was like, I had a lot of fun and actually got a lot of views when I was doing things like, will this blow up? How many LEDs can I hook to this? How much power can I send to this? And like stuff like that is fun for me and fun for the viewers. And I think like doing some more projects like that will be a little bit, less work for me, but also just more fun for me. And I think maybe more fun for the viewers. So I don't know. How about you? What you got coming up?
Well, like I was telling you, I really need to do more stuff in between the reviews because I'm going to be honest here, the reviews are not going to stop. If someone like Banggood wants to fill my shop up with awesome stuff that I can use throughout the lifetime of my YouTubing career, I'm going to make hay while the sun shines. To tie back to the earlier on the podcast. But I do need to do more stuff in between. So we are now over an hour into the podcast. So those of you who are listening this far, you guys deserve to know this. On AliExpress, I ordered a case. Let me see here. It's like a pack of integrated circuits of typical, logic circuits and all sorts of things. There's 30 of them in there. And I'll just give you a couple examples. There's 74HC14s, 74HC21s, et cetera, 74HC 373. So they're like gates and counters and all sorts of cool logic chips. I plan on making a dedicated video on the use of every single one of them. I would like to experiment with these things and how to integrate them into my regular sort of workflow so I can build a bigger dictionary of what's available out there, without involving the use of a microcontroller. So it's going to be like basically taking a look at the way things were done pre-microcontroller or, when microcontrollers were very expensive. And it'll help me as well kind of figure out how these things work and where I can fit them into projects. So look out for that. That's going to be at least, 30 videos of these. I'm dedicating myself to learning and putting out there. Because again, I'm a very big believer that knowledge should be free And I mean, if I can figure this out, basically anybody can figure it out. So, you'll be able to come to my channel and take a look. So it's stuff like that, like useful stuff that I want to be putting out in between the review videos, basically.
I like that. Like you did a video, I think, on a WeMOS D1, like the basics of a WeMOS D1. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember watching that video and saying, like, I learned something. I mean, I've used 100 of them, and that video taught me something. So I love, when people go through and do the basics of something. And that actually reminded me of one of the things I have to my right. I have two of those Learn Electronics labs, that one of them is from I think the 90s, and the other one's from the 60s, that I got at a fleet or a thrift store or something like that. And I thought about integrating that, sort of Arduino-fying one, and integrating that into the control panel thing. And the same thing, they have a lot of chips that I've never heard of that obviously they had plans for in there, and instructions. So there's just so much we can learn about the logic behind things, because I mean, right now, you type, digital write pin 1 high, and like, you're doing electronics, but you're definitely missing all the things that happened in between, from the time the software is compiled to uploaded to actually making that pin go high. There's just so much of it that's abstracted from us.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what was great about earlier Julian Eilert videos. When he was tinkering with Arduino, you could tell he was a PIC guy. Like he was true old school. So sometimes he left the C environment and started, or I don't know if it's leaving C, but leaving the Arduino-y side behind and starting to address the registers directly and control the registers directly. And it's that kind of stuff that I'm interested in learning, just to further my own knowledge on the subject. And obviously, if I learn something, I want to share it with the world, because, knowledge should be free. So yeah, that is part of the plan for me, for sure.
Absolutely. That's pretty exciting.
Oh, I guess, should I mention that one? Oh, I guess I can't say should I mention and then not mention it. So I am also working on a top secret project, and I think another maker, willingly or not, he's helping me with it. But we're working on a website, and basically it's going to follow the mentality of knowledge should be free. So all I really want to say is the project is extremely ambitious. So there's no timeline guarantees at all. But yeah, you're going to be able to come to this website and learn, hopefully, anything you want in the entire world, and it's going to be entirely free. It's going to take a little bit of buy-in from fellow YouTube video makers. And by buy-in, I mean they'll have to buy into the project, not with money, but with their beliefs. But I think we'll be able to make it work. And I don't know. Can you maybe give the viewers an outside perspective of what you think of the project? Because I guess it was my idea, but I think it's going to be a lot of it is going to be your execution, I think.
Yeah, I love the concept. First of all, the if you don't have kids, I don't have kids, but people who my wife's an educator. But if you Google, there's a thing called Khan Academy, Kahn Academy, and basically it was a guy who started just, I think, teaching his nieces and nephews, helping them with their math and stuff like that, and then just sort of eventually had this thing that he wanted to put this content out there so that the whole world could learn how to solve this algebraic equation or whatever it is. And it did that for the educational market, where they basically, kids go to school and they don't understand it, and then they go home to Khan Academy and really learn it. And moving forward, there's a lot of great stuff on Udemy. I learned on Udemy. There's a lot of great stuff on all these different courses that are behind paywalls and stuff like that. But I love the idea of taking the content and making it free and making this knowledge free, and then even building on the knowledge that you're getting. And so I don't want to say things that, I don't want to give away any ideas or anything like that, but that's what we're doing. We're building something to give you guys free content. But, and I know you can find most things on YouTube, but it is different when it's structured. It is different when, somebody starts off and says, this is a variable, this is an array, this is an integer. And lead you through from that to a complete, understanding of it. And normally what happens is you'll get one of two things. You'll either get, when you go free, you'll generally get either scattershot content. Like if you go to my channel, you could learn a million different things from going to my channel, but you're not going to learn most of them from beginning to end. Or if you want quality content, you go to some place where you're paying $150 or $200 a class to get it, and then it still may not be quality content. And so, what you're trying to do is both, quality content and free. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I think the 3 keywords for this website will be curation, it'll be classification, and it'll be free. I think those are the 3 main drivers of this website. So yeah, if anyone cares enough that they want to contribute or whatever, hit me up, Twitter, email, comments, whatever. But it is still in the super early stages, so let's not be expecting too much now. Hopefully, I will get a section working, and by I mean with much poking to another maker. We'll get a section working, so I'll have a working demo at some point in the next 12 months, and maybe a section working that you can access and start getting free information from. But yeah, no guarantees, because I'm very new to web dev, and another maker actually has money that he needs to make to pay his mortgage and not mess around with this thing. So, it's just going to be what it's going to be. But I think it's a really cool idea, and either way, I mean, my web host is paid for, so it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. So, it's amazing to me, like your attitude with the whole free thing. Because I'll just go ahead and tell you guys. I mean, I'm not saying this will be this way forever, but I asked him about putting ads on the page or things like that to kind of offset some of his own expenses, and he wasn't interested in that. And the fact is, he could basically do that for free. But he really, he means what he says. Like he wants to. He wants to get this knowledge out there for the sake of getting the knowledge out there. And that's one of the reasons why I want to support it. There's a lot of people with great ideas and stuff like that, but ultimately they try to find ways to enrich themselves from it. But he, the reason why he wants products to review, the reason why he wants his YouTube channel to do well is not to, live a more extravagant life. It's so that he can provide more content. Like, he would love to be able to quit his other job so he could make more content and give more stuff away. And I just think that's awesome. And I really encourage you guys to support that. Encourage you to join this Patreon. And know that when you're supporting the Patreon, like you're partially supporting this project too. So you're supporting a YouTube channel and giving away free knowledge to the world. So I think that's pretty awesome for your couple bucks a month.
It's going to be a very small percentage for the for the website as of now, because still
he's got 3D printer parts to buy, but on top of that,
the YouTube channel is very much still underwater. And reading my comments, a lot of them are good, but some of them are like, "Why is your lighting so garbage?" I'm like, need to buy. I've contacted. Anyways, yeah, I'm trying to buy some lights, but it's such a risk. Because so just so you know, lights are about another $200 for the lights I want to test out. But once I get them, they might not even do the trick. So I'm
determined to keep my channel crappy. I'd like to put the effort into having fun, and I think you can tell when I'm having fun with a video or product and when I'm not. And so I think because that comes through, I want to put the effort into having fun, stuff like that. But I'm sorry, my lighting is going to suck. My video, there's going to be some jump cuts, and I trip over my words all the time. So there's going to be funny jump cuts and just, but I really admire what you're doing, and the fact that the time that it takes you to put in the quality and to upgrade the shop and do all that stuff.
It's just one of those things where, well, first of all, I have, GAS, which is Gear Acquisition Syndrome. I've had it for forever. But also, I think, regardless if YouTube falls into a black hole in the middle of the universe, I think I'll still be making videos, whether it just be to entertain myself or to spread knowledge or whatever. So it's I bought over $100 in lumber to build a shitty little workbench, but I did it because I'm going to be using it, right? I'm going to keep using it even if YouTube stops paying me. So
I have that gear acquisition syndrome. It's funny. I know I'm a giant hypocrite. I bought that Siglent scope and didn't really love it, and it didn't really spark joy in my life, so I returned it. And then like a week later, Banggood asked me if they could send me a bench. And I did my excuse, and my legitimate excuse was, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money to have like a bunch of stuff that was going to sit on my bench. And then a week later, like Banggood asked me if they can send me that benchtop multimeter. I'm like, yep. And same thing with the signal generator. They're like, what are you going to use a signal generator for? I don't know. I'm going to use it to put signals into my scope. What else are you going to do with it? But yeah, so it's just, if you're going to send me free gear, I'm going to do something with it. And I'll at least turn it on and let people think that I know what I'm doing.
Actually, I'm really curious now that I have you on the spot. Have you been listening to the radio through that benchtop multimeter at all since the video?
I have not. No, that was the one and only time I put sound through it. Like, well, to test it, I tested different kinds of music, stuff like that. But it's so I will say though, I haven't done a lot of soldering, and so it's eventually going to go over there. I'm rearranging my office, but it will go over by the solder station, and I probably will be more likely to play something through it while I'm while I'm soldering and working on that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying never, but just not now. I did that multimeter drag race, and that had my desk where I tested the different speeds. That had my desk full for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, where just my entire shop was trashed from doing that one video.
It took me 3 hours this morning of cleaning up from the live stream. I found about 8 LEDs, by the way.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think they're almost all recovered. I think there's only one missing.
That's great. So, do you think they gave you extra? Do you have any way? Did you see?
I have no idea. I just know that I'm about a quarter of the way done the LEDs they sent, and I look to be about a quarter of the way done soldering. Okay. So
seems like an accurate measurement.
Yeah. Oh, so that reminds me, I have to order some 0603 red LEDs now.
I feel like you should have to do green or something like that, just so you can like pay a little bit of a price for the ones you lost.
Yeah, great. Ultraviolet or something.
Yeah.
It just tears my corneas off because I messed it up.
Nice. All the plants will grow near it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess we should call it a day before my podcast host stop accepting the file because it's too big. So any closing words?
No, I appreciate you having me. Let me know in the comments if you think I've been on the show too much and you never want to hear from me again. But I appreciate, at least being a fill-in when nobody else takes you up on the opportunity to be on the show. I don't know why they wouldn't. It's a really great experience. If you have something to promote or, have something to talk about, man, talk to this guy. It's a lot of fun. He's pretty easy to get along with.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, I guess. But, makers are shy people. I think none of us feel worthy.
Yeah, I think about that. Every once in a while, I'll see a call to go on that MakerCast thing. And like, I look at the TV and I watch it. And I'm like, wow, everybody on there is like a real maker who knows what they're doing. Like, I have no business being on, on something like that. And so I'm sure people feel that way on the podcast. But, I know none of us know what we're doing. We're just all, idiots who post videos on YouTube and appreciate it when you thumbs up and when you comment on them.
Yeah, except for that another maker guy. He's pretty smart.
I can at least pretend.
Well, okay, I don't know about another maker, but this other YouTube channel I know about, Develop with Dan, now that guy's brilliant.
Yeah, that guy, he knows what he's doing, at least in that area.
All right, guys, so thank you so much for listening, and I want you guys go over to another maker's YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and thumbs up a random video, and say that you came from this podcast, especially if you lasted this long. Also, go into the description and check out the link to the YouTube channel for the dude with the bus. I don't think we know his name.
It's Sojourn Expedition is the name of the channel, and his name is Vince.
There we go. So go subscribe to Vince's channel. But if you do subscribe to Vince's channel, tell him a mysterious source sent you, so that we don't let him know where you came from. So thanks everyone for listening, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Have a good one.